The message arrived on a Tuesday. Admiral James Reed stood in the communications hub of Earth Fleet Command, his weathered face illuminated by the harsh blue light of the emergency broadcast. He watched in frozen horror as the recording played on loop. Thousands of Valoran ships, their distinctive silver hulls reflecting starlight, disintegrating under concentrated weapons fire from Galactic Council vessels. They never even had a chance to raise shields, Lieutenant Anna Moore whispered beside him, her voice cracking. The Valorans had been humanity's first and most loyal allies when Earth ventured beyond its solar system 50 years ago. While most established species in the Council had viewed humans with suspicion or outright disdain, the Valorans, with their 4 arms and iridescent skin, had extended friendship. They shared technology, cultural exchange, and eventually mutual defense agreements. Get me United Earth Government. Now, Admiral Reed's voice was deadly calm. Within hours, the emergency session convened. Representatives from every Earth colony and territory gathered virtually as President Thomas Wilson addressed the Assembly. The Galactic Council has committed an act of genocide against our Valoran allies, Wilson stated flatly. Their diplomatic channels claim it was a necessary security action against destabilizing elements. We have verified that the Valoran fleet was on a peaceful scientific mission. There were civilian research vessels among those destroyed. Silence hung heavy across the chamber. The Council believes we will stand aside, that humanity is too weak, too new to be interstellar community to respond. Wilson continued. They are mistaken. That night, Operation Thunderstrike was authorized. Director Marcus Brown of Earth Intelligence Service reviewed the final plans in his underground office. 120 Earth Special Forces teams would deploy simultaneously across Council space. Their targets: the 7 primary communications arrays that link the Council's vast empire together. The Council doesn't respect our conventional military power, Brown explained to his team, but they'd never fully understood humanity's capacity for asymmetric warfare. Commander Lisa Park, leader of Strike Team Alpha, studied the holographic display of her target, a massive communications hub orbiting the gas giant Kel Prime. 17 minutes, she said quietly. That's our window between security patrols. Brown nodded. The Valorans trusted us when no one else would. Remember what they looked like in that broadcast, Lisa. Remember their ships breaking apart. Park's eyes hardened. I remember. The Council's High Chamber convened an emergency session 2 days later. Delegate Thorne of the Merithian species banged his ceremonial staff against the ancient floor. This is unprecedented. Simultaneous attacks across 7 systems. Our communications network is in shambles, he bellowed. His triple-ridged forehead flushed purple with rage. High Counselor Drab, a tall, thin representative of the Zoltan race, raised a 6-fingered hand. The humans are responsible. Our intelligence is conclusive. Impossible, scoffed Delegate Ulfin. Their fleet remains in their home territory. Not a single human warship has moved beyond their borders. They didn't use warships, Drav replied quietly. Small teams, infiltration specialists. They disabled our arrays with minimal casualties. They weren't trying to kill. This was a message. The chamber erupted in shouts and arguments. In a distant corner, Observer Kell of the Council Security Force spoke softly into his communicator. They've confirmed it was Earth. Recommend immediate military response. The voice that replied was tense. Unable to coordinate fleet movements, communications still fragmented, regional commanders acting independently. Kell cursed under his breath. The humans had successfully scattered the Council's command structure like leaves in a storm. 2 weeks later, Admiral Reed stood on the bridge of the EFS Retribution, the most advanced warship in Earth's arsenal. Behind him stretched a fleet of 500 vessels, everything humanity could muster. Open broadcast channel, Reed ordered. All frequencies, all languages. The communications officer nodded. Channel open, sir. Reed drew himself to full height. This is Admiral James Reed of the United Earth Fleet to all Galactic Council forces. You massacred our allies, the Valoran people, without provocation or warning. You believed humanity would be too weak to respond. He paused, letting the words hang in space. You were wrong. Lieutenant Moore approached with a data tablet. Sir, Council forces are scrambling to form a defensive line, but without their communications network, they're disorganized. Our intelligence suggests at least 30% of their fleet commanders hadn't received proper orders. Reed nodded grimly. Launch fighters. Target their command ships first. The battle that followed would later be called the Sundering of the Council. Earth's smaller fleet, moving with coordinated precision, tore through the fragmented Council forces. The EFS Retribution led the charge, its advanced shielding technology, ironically, shared by the Valorans years earlier, making it nearly impervious to the Council's standard weaponry. For 6 hours, human ships methodically disabled or destroyed Council vessels. When the Council's flagship, the imposing Eternal Dominion, finally surrendered, nearly 2/3 of the Council fleet had been neutralized. 1 month later, in the rebuilt Council chamber, a new treaty was signed. Earth representatives sat alongside delegates from the surviving Valoran colonies. Across from them, the chastened Council species watched as humanity dictated terms. Earth does not seek domination, President Wilson stated firmly, but we will never again allow genocide to go unanswered. The new Galactic Charter will establish protections for all species, regardless of their technological development or military strength. Observer Kell, now promoted to Council Security Chief due to the high casualties among leadership, leaned toward High Counselor Drav. How did we misjudge them so badly? He whispered. Drav's ancient eyes fixed on the human delegation. We saw their reluctance to engage in direct conflict as weakness. We didn't understand that they were studying us, learning our patterns, finding our vulnerabilities. When they finally struck, he shook his elongated head. They did not waste resources on ego or displays of power. They simply disabled exactly what they needed to win. Across the chamber, Admiral Reed signed the final document establishing the new Galactic Alliance. In the viewing gallery above, a group of Valoran survivors watched in solemn silence, their forearms performing their traditional gesture of respect. As Reed walked away from the signing table, Lieutenant Moore fell into step beside him. The Valorans are asking if we would help restore their homeworld, she said quietly. Reed looked out through the massive crystal viewport at the stars beyond. Tell them yes, and tell them that this time, no one will threaten them again. Earth had proven itself not just as a military power, but as something the Galactic Council had never truly understood. A loyal ally willing to risk everything for justice. The stars would never look at humanity the same way again.